Hello. So today I wanted to talk about what living between two worlds really taught me. I saw a picture a few days ago and it was a drawing just of like a side of a building. So you can see two sides of a building and there was a man stood on, looking at the different walls. And on one of the walls, the man was in Jamaica and he's looking at a sign on the wall that says, oh, hope you can't hear all that noise. But he's looking at a sign on the wall that says, come to the UK, job opportunities and all that stuff. On the other wall, it's in the UK, and there's a man looking at a poster that says, come to Jamaica, sea, sun, and rum, that kind of mindset. And it got me as it was really interesting how we are fed different versions of success, and that, the person who's looking at it from Jamaica and seeing the poster saying come to the UK is looking at it as opportunity. And the person who's in England is looking at it as freedom. Those are different viewpoints depending on where you stand. And even though there may be opportunity in, UK, North America, or you come to the Caribbean and you've got sea, sun, sand, and rum and all that kind of stuff. There's that version or that impression of freedom. Neither picture is really telling the whole story. And that's because we are sold those different versions of success. It's really interesting how the version of success that's sold to the Caribbean, to people outside to the Caribbean, is come for rest and relaxation. And the version of success that is sold from people in the Caribbean to go to North America and England, for example, is to, go for opportunity and to make money, to work, basically. But success in that way is kind of defined by location. So it's seen that if you come to the Caribbean, you have the weather, you have a better quality of life. There is that less stress. If you go to the UK, you've got the better opportunities, better salaries, more opportunities. And neither of those viewpoints are entirely true, and neither, I would say, are entirely false, because I'm sitting here in the Caribbean right now and I can tell you the quality of life for me is much better. It does feel less stress, but it has its own stresses. You know, every place has its trade off. I post pictures, and I will talk about my life living on either coast in the UK and over in the Caribbean. What a lot of people don't see, what I don't share a lot of, because it's my story, but there's other people involved, is the other side of the responsibility that comes with the freedom that I've got. Yes, I can pack up and I can come out here when I want to, and I'm working with people all over the world, which is what I wanted for myself. But what I don't always show is the other side of my life, where being out here means that I have the responsibility of helping support my parents. I've got elderly parents. My dad has dementia and his eyesight is practically all gone. And running a business, I used to have visions of my vision of freedom before I left corporate was sitting by the side of the pool or on the beach, and brightly colored drink next to me with my laptop on my lap, and just working from anywhere in the world. And I can do that now. Right over there to my right, I'm looking at the beach, and if I wanted to go down there right now, I could. But there are its own levels of stress that comes with running a business on both sides of the world. Many of the people that I work with is, or I'm programmed, I would say, on UK time. So by the time I get up here, and I'm not a morning person, but by the time I get up here, it's nearly midday in England, if not after. Having to deal with the multiple time zones, having to be on different sides of the Atlantic at different times. There's been so many times when I've been here and something has popped up in the UK and it's like, oh gosh, Rachel, if you were here, because I wanted the freedom to be able to work from wherever I wanted to remotely. But there are some things that you have to do in person. And if I were there, then I would have been able to do it. You know, I've had it, and it sometimes can take its toll being out here and managing a business as well, where you've got the responsibilities of family. You've got to think about healthcare. So being out here, it's no NHS, so you've got that to think about as well. There are real realities when it comes to being out here, but when you think about moving to the Caribbean, so for the people that live here and think, I'm going to go out to, sorry, moving to the UK or moving to North America, for the people who are here and are thinking about that, that comes with its own stresses as well. I think back to my life pre-leaving corporate, the commute, the near burnout, the pace of life that I just didn't want anymore, coming into Victoria Station or London Bridge and literally being herded like cattle onto the trains. I didn't want that anymore. That pressure of being on somebody else's time and being told, no, you can't have 3 weeks annual leave because somebody else has already booked it, or business needs and that kind of thing. And I understand that you need those things to work, but it wasn't for me after a while. And so what it really got me to understand fully by coming out of corporate, by working with people on various continents across the world, is that the goal, even though this was my goal, to work from wherever it was in the world and set up, and wherever it was in the world, it turns out to be Grenada currently. But it's really shown me that the goal is not just freedom. It's not just to pack up and live in the Caribbean. And the goal isn't to live in North America or to live in the UK, because, as I said, there's going to be struggle everywhere, and you literally have to just pick your struggle. The goal is to have options. It is to be able to create and design a life that you're happy with living, because there are so many people that I talk to here that talk about, going back to the UK or going to North America and wanting to set up a life there and how easy things would be. And then I speak to people in the UK who say, they want to come out to the Caribbean and do what I'm doing and being able to live out here, and that's fine. But I also know people who have packed up, come out to the Caribbean and have had to pack up and go back again because it just has not worked. And that really shows you that the goal is not just a new environment, because, and it's kind of the same like when you go into a new job, because you can't stand the one that you're in. There's loads of stuff going in there, maybe a toxic workplace. You get up and you think, okay, the fix is going to be getting a new job, and it ain't. Because sometimes you take those issues with you. The goal is not about where you are. The goal is having the freedom and flexibility and being able to create that income so that you can choose where and how you want to live. And this is why I chose what I do, so that I don't have to be stuck in one place, so that I do have the options to be here when I want to and be in the UK when I want to. But like I said, it comes with its own stresses. When I'm here, I'm thinking about my sons. When I'm in the UK, I'm thinking about my parents. But I have the flexibility to go and come as I please. I think the biggest lesson that I've learned through doing this is that we should never be defined by somebody else's version of success. And I remember when I was younger, because I lived out here when I was younger, I remember coming home from work one day. I was walking up from work and I had an aunt who lived nearby. May she rest in peace. And so I was teaching at the time. So I left college and I went straight into teaching. And I was walking past her house, good afternoon, and I got scolded. She was saying to me, why are you still here? Literally, I don't even think she said good afternoon. It was literally, why are you still here? Why have you not gone back to the UK? Her version of success was, and she felt that if you had the opportunity to be somewhere else, why would you want to stay in Grenada? And at that time, I was quite content with where I was. I had finished college, I'd gone into teaching, I was finding my feet, and as you know, it's my first proper job. And I was loving it, although I did know at some point I was going to go back to England. But her version was, straight after college, you should have gone straight back into uni. And I did eventually go back to England and did my degrees and whatnot. But those are the kind of pressures that we live under, where people will tell us what they feel we should do, when we should do it, because it lines up with what they see as success. For her, if you're in the Caribbean and you have an option to be somewhere else, you should be there. But for many people, being over in those Western countries, the goal is to come over to the Caribbean. And so what we really need to be very clear about is what our individual versions and definitions of success is. The person who sits in the Caribbean and is dreaming about going to England or North America isn't wrong. The person who is in England and dreaming about coming to the Caribbean and packing it all up and coming out here isn't wrong either. But what you have to remember and understand is that none of those places are going to automatically make you happy. Your joy isn't found in the places. It's not about where you're living. It's how and what type of life you are building, and whether or not your current life is moving you closer to the vision of the type of life that you actually want. So, question, and this is one that I want you to take time to answer. Because if you're sitting in one place thinking, you know what, maybe I'd like to be somewhere else, or thinking that your current circumstances aren't really lining up and aren't really bringing you joy and making you happy. Question, if money was no factor, where would you choose to live and why? And if you're already living there, what is it that people misunderstand about it? Because I know that there are some people, I'm currently in the Caribbean, there are some people that would say, I would live nowhere else. This is where I want to be. Likewise, there are some people who are in, the Western countries, and for them, they will live nowhere else. They never want to return to the Caribbean. They absolutely love their life there. So if money was no object, where would you choose to live and why? And if you're already there, what is it that people misunderstand most about it? Because I think those are the types of answers and understandings that will let people see the positives and negatives. Oh, shaking my table. The positives and negatives to where we are. Because like I said, the goal is not the place. It's not the place that makes you happy. It's the life that you create and design whilst you're living there. Or you move to that place because that's the type of life that you want to design. Thank you for watching. That picture really did spark some thoughts for me about what we're being sold in terms of success. And I'd love to hear what success looks like for you. Is it where you are right now? Is it climbing the corporate ladder? Is it jumping out and being able to live bi-coastal like I do? I'd love to hear from you. Till next time, bye.